So you want to build an iPhone app, but where do you even start? You've probably heard terms like Xcode, Swift, or SwiftUI thrown around, but you're like, what does that even mean? This video is going to introduce you to Xcode, which is Apple's official development environment, which is kind of a fancy way of saying that it is the first-party Mac app where you write the code to build your apps. But real quick, before we dive into Xcode, Swift is the programming language that you'll use to write native apps for Apple platforms, the iPhone, the iPad, the Mac, etc. And SwiftUI is a framework written in Swift that will help you build your user interface for your apps. And you write that code in Xcode. But Xcode is more than an app where you just write code. You can also test your app on device simulators. You can work with AI agents writing Xcode to build your apps. You can upload your app to the App Store for review. And you can debug and review crash reports to fix any issues that come up. Think of it like your developer workspace while you're building your app. And to be honest, Xcode is a pretty complex piece of software. So this video isn't going to teach you how to use every aspect of it. It's an introduction to what Xcode is, so you can have a big picture understanding of it before you really dive in and start to learn it. Here are some things that typically make up an Xcode project. And the bulk of it is going to be your code files. And when you select one of these files, the code will show up in the source editor so you can write new code or edit existing code. And like I said, this is typically where you're going to spend most of your time when you're coding in Xcode. Also, any images that are going to be in your app, any colors that you're going to use throughout your app, or other assets like sounds. Your app icon is also in your Xcode project. It's where you select system capabilities, like if you want to support push notifications, or iCloud Sync, or CarPlay. Also, which platforms you want to support, whether you're building for iPhone and iPad, a Mac app, maybe Vision Pro, and which OS version you want to support on that platforms. For example, maybe you want to support all the way back to iOS 17. Xcode is where you configure that. It's also where you can support various different languages for your app by adding translations, and it does so much more, but those are the main pieces. Now, once you've written some code and you're really making some progress on your app, you're going to want to run it and test it and see what you've built. And Xcode will compile all your code, build your project so you can run it on a device simulator. This can be an iPhone simulator, iPad simulator, pretty much all the devices, and their different variations. For example, the iPhone Pro Max, the really big phone, has a very different screen size than the iPhone 16e, which is a bit smaller. And then maybe a foldable iPhone will have a completely different screen layout. So with the Xcode simulators, you can test all of this, as well as different OS versions. So let's say you're testing an iPhone app on iOS 26 and above, where you want to see what it looks like with all the liquid glass goodness. And you also want to test that on iOS 18 and below to make sure it still looks good before liquid glass existed. You can also connect and run your app on a real device to see the app running in the real world, which is typically the best way to test. Xcode also supports building with AI agents. You can use your existing ChatGPT or Claude Code subscription to build with those agents right in Xcode. And this is a nice way to get started because those agents will have direct access to Apple's documentation and best practices when building for Apple platforms. But these days, most developers are using more sophisticated AI coding assistants like ChatGPT, Claude Code, or Bitrig right alongside Xcode because AI is moving so fast these days. I mean, a new state-of-the-art model is being released like every month, and the honest truth is, Xcode doesn't get updated enough to keep up with that rapid pace. And when your app is ready, Xcode can archive it, which creates the proper file format to upload to the App Store. And once it's on App Store Connect, you can either release it to TestFlight, which is Apple's beta testing software, so you can test it with users before you release it, or you can submit it to App Store Review to officially get it on the App Store. Now, like I said, Xcode is a complex piece of software. It is for professional developers, so it can be a little overwhelming. But you don't need to understand every aspect or understand how everything works with Xcode to start building your app. And hopefully this video gave you a big picture understanding of what Xcode is and how it works to build apps. And if Xcode seems intimidating to you, you should check out Bitrig. It's an AI development environment specifically focused on building premium Swift apps for Apple platforms. It handles all this Xcode complexity for you under the hood, so you can just focus on building your app. For example, it can hook up with CloudKit so your app syncs across all your users' Apple devices. It can create your App Store Connect listing, set up your in-app purchases or subscriptions, and even submit to the App Store for you. And it's always on the bleeding edge. When a new AI model is released, it's available in Bitrig that same day. It's built by the co-creators of SwiftUI that were formerly at Apple, so it integrates amazingly well with the first-party Apple frameworks, and it specializes in Swift and SwiftUI. The team ships new features on a weekly basis, so the product is getting better and better and better. Check it out at bitrig.com.